All right, so in this video, I'm going to go ahead and break down each tier into more detail, right? This is after you've done the checklist. So once you complete the checklist, you're going to know what tier your business is in, right? And so basically, to begin, tier one is maximum credibility. You have the best chances of securing high limit funding with lower rates and better approvals. And this is what makes up a tier one business. You've been in business for 2+ years and you have the verifiable financials, right? So you have your tax returns, the balance sheet, the P&L. Your business is legally registered with an EIN, whether that be an LLC, S corp, C corp, partnership. And one thing to quickly clarify: this doesn't matter as far as lending goes. The banks, lenders, they all see it the same generally. The main thing that the entity type affects is going to be like your taxes and the actual legal liability as well, right? So just keep that in mind. But when it comes to lending, they usually look at it as if it's the same thing. So don't worry about whether you have an LLC or a corporation. You're fine. The business name and address matches across all of your legal docs. So the articles of incorporation, organization, your EIN, bank docs. And if you have it, your Duns and Bradstreet profile, like the DMB profile. And if you don't have it, it's okay. You are still a tier one business, which I'll get to later in the video. But as we continue, you'll see the business address is a physical address, right? You're not using a virtual address or a PO box. Home addresses are just fine. Your business has a checking account and a merchant processor. So who qualifies? Businesses that are 2 years old with verifiable financials, even without a paydex score or business credit, right? So even if you don't have this, you're good, because what you do have is you have your financials that can be verified, right? Especially if you filed through like a CPA and they have everything and it's signed off by a CPA, like you'll be fine. And you also have this, right? So even without this, because you have these things here, you're good. Now you're not tier one if your business is over 2 years old, but it's missing the verifiable financials. If it's missing that, then you're tier two. Or your business is under 2 years old, and let's say even if you have it, you're still tier two, because again, you have to be 2+ years, right? You're in the right path though. Now, most lenders don't check paydex. Section 4, I'll still show you how to build a paydex if you want. But with the 680 plus FICO, you can get either the business cards and or business lines of credit, and I explain how that works in Section 5. Okay. If you're tier two, you can still qualify for funding, but your approvals and limits may be lower. Okay. And here are the characteristics of a tier two business: legally registered, everything matches across your legal docs. You have the business checking, you have your merchant processor, but your business is under 2 years old. Okay. So who qualifies? And oh yeah, I had an exception as well. So business, because I had the exception up here, right? But basically, businesses is over 2 years old but missing the verifiable financials. Again, you're tier two. A business that's 1 to 2 years old with or without the financials, tier two. Okay, and this is just explaining what, like, you're not tier two if it's under 6 months old, right? Or if you're 6 to 1 year old, right? These are the what not doesn't make you that. So it's these characteristics up here, and then it's these two things. Okay, so to move up, generally, if you're at least 2 years old and you've been making money, you just haven't filed your taxes, consider filing your taxes, right? Getting your financials prepared so that you have at least 1 year of verifiable financials. That'll put you up to tier one, and you may qualify for higher limits, right? I mean, this is something that you may want to explore. Now, if you're a business and 1 year old with the verifiable financials, just maintain what you're doing until you hit 2 years in business, and you'll move up to tier one, right? You're already doing what you're supposed to here. Whatever the case may be, figure it out, and if it makes sense, do your taxes, get the 1 year of the financials, and then your chances of approval increase. Okay. So doing these two things can help you with your funding. And then, as I mentioned, 680 FICO, you can get the business cards. Section 4, I'll show you how to build a paydex if you want, but Section 5, you can just immediately start going towards applying, right? Now, Tier 3, here are the requirements, or what makes up a Tier 3 business. You're legally registered, right? Everything matches. and you has a business checking account. The business is between 6 months and 1 years old. So basically, there are a couple things that are missing. So not only is it the age, but also your financials. You don't have them, right? Businesses that are 6 months to 1 year old with the business bank account, but no verifiable financials or revenue history. Basically, that is what makes you a tier three business. Is this right here, right? You're 6 months to 1 year old, and you don't have like the strong revenue yet or the that track record to be able to pull up the returns, right? Because I mean, you be within a certain range. So, and you're not tier three if you make some of these mistakes here, right? And I'll get into the different tiers here in a sec, like what makes up tier four, right? So to move up to tier two, well, really, you just have to kind of age into it. This is one of those things where you kind of have to wait, but then also consider maintaining your financials so that you can start moving towards not only tier two, but tier one, right? And here's where I mentioned again where you can go and start building your paydex or immediately start looking at funding options, right? How to get the funding if you're at a 680 or more. Now, these are high risk auto denials. Doesn't matter what tier you're in. If you do any of this, you're going to get denied automatically, right? And I've known people that were tier one, but because they did some of this stuff here, they dropped to tier four and got auto denied, right? So these are the auto denials. Using a virtual address, PO box, or mismatch address, you don't have the business checking. Mismatch business information, right? Across your EIN, the bank account information, your articles, like the state articles of incorporation or organization, right? Or you don't have an EIN. Of course, if you haven't legally registered the business, you can't really get business funding because they require an EIN. So register the business. Or you're in a restricted category. Restricted categories are is going to be like firearms, alcohol, adult entertainment, crypto, credit repair, etc. Right? Now, you may still qualify for business funding through alternative means. Just most traditional banks and lenders auto deny, right? If you're in this restricted business category. So that's the one thing with restricted businesses. But if you're not in a restricted business, then don't use any of these keywords for whatever reason. Like if you just for whatever reason do that, like you risk getting auto denied. Okay. And I have a whole comprehensive list here, which you guys will have access to, right? And it breaks down exactly many of the high risk codes. And you can also look into it as well on your own time by Googling it. I can't include every single code because it gets updated, but this will give you a good idea of what that is and how to avoid it, okay? Anyways, so tier four, you need to read this to figure out what mistakes can occur that kill like that ruins credibility, right? That will get you automatically denied. And you can see if you can turn your business from a four to a tier one business. Because again, sometimes people are in the higher tiers, but because they do something off this list, they get auto denied. So fix that, right? And then section 2.1 will take you through the full steps of how to fix everything. Make sure everything is consistent, and that the issues you have are structured like they're no longer a problem. So after you fix that, depending on where you land, you can go to business funding mastery or section 4 to build the paydex. Okay. So once you fix this, yeah, and here I just mentioned the same thing. Anyway, so tier 5 new business owners starting from scratch. This is not a bad thing at all. Actually, I would consider that if you're a tier 5 business, you're probably in a really good position, especially if you're watching this, because you're going to get a really good understanding of what you should be doing to get business funding, right? So you can actually qualify with a 680 plus FICO, as I mentioned here. The business cards is the main thing that you'll be able to unlock at this time. Later on, the lines of credit, right? And if you follow the like this here, like maintaining the financials and things like that, you're like in time you're gonna hit tier one, and which means higher approvals. Okay, But here's your roadmap. You go to 2.2 to register the business, section 3 to complete the profile. Then you can either build the PAYDEX, again, it's not necessary, or go straight to the business funding mastery. Because again, the only thing is you need to have a 680 score, 680 FICO. And then at that point, you can go ahead and start looking at business cards. And I just basically explained the same thing here, that most lenders don't check PAYDEX. 680 FICO can get you business cards, right? And here's a recap as well of the automatic denials, no matter what tier you're in. Again, I like to always highlight, especially this, the virtual address is the main thing I like to make sure people know not to use. But I like to always bring this up because sometimes people go through it and they still get denied. And it might be because they missed something like this, okay? So tiers 1, 2, 3, 5, fundable, you know, really the difference is that tier ones can get the most. And as you go lower in the tiers, it's not that, yeah, the lower the limits go, actually. So that's how that works. Tier 4, you will get auto denied regardless. Doesn't matter. You can have the most perfect credit profile, but if there's like certain things they see, you get auto denied. So you want to fix it first. And those in tier 4, go to section 2.1, right? I'll walk you through how to fix everything, correct issues. Really, actually, most people should be going to section 2.1, actually. But, anyways, once you fixed everything, go straight to section 5 for the funding mastery, or optional, learn about PAYDEX, how to build it. Again, I still give you all the accounts that you need to build it in the full sequence, okay? And that is what this video is about. And I'll see you in the next one.